Last time on the Skip and Josh podcast.
2 games ago.
Oh, back to college basketball.
Yeah, Alex O'Connell came in to play a few minutes, and I noticed that he got a haircut, and it seems like ever since he got that haircut, he's lost all his three-point shooting powers.
Which is too bad because they need his three-point shooting.
Well, he should never have cut his hair.
You're listening to the Skip and Josh podcast with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
I'm Josh in Toronto.
And I'm Skip in Montreal.
In today's episode, owners behaving badly.
Stupid baseball contracts.
And should college players get paid?
But first, what's bugging Josh?
Okay, Skip, it's time for another fun-filled episode of the Skip and Josh podcast. And normally I make a list of things that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Things that I saw during the week or heard during the week. But I actually want to start with one thing. And it's something that I did not watch.
Oh, God. Okay.
I did not watch the NBA All-Star Game or the NBA Skills Competition.
So we're starting with the NBA, the league that we banned from our podcast.
Well, that's all I want to say about it. Also, speaking of things that I did not watch, or I'm not going to watch, I'm not going to watch 1 minute of the Oscars.
Not even 1 minute?
No.
Okay. I'm going to watch.
Okay, you can watch.
So next week I could give you the Oscar lowdown.
You can, sure. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this goes under the category of what bugs me. I think it does. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And normally we don't start the show with what bugs me, but whatever. It's our show. We can do what we want.
This is true.
Things that bug me?
I don't know about you, but it bugs me when a player gets traded and then he plays a game in the city that he used to play in. And they give him this huge tribute on the video board, like he's a god or something.
Wow. Like who? When did this happen?
Well, it happened twice yesterday in 2 different games, one in hockey and one in basketball.
Okay.
So it happened with Matt Duchene and DeMar DeRozan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, DeMar DeRozan, maybe I understand that because he was on the Raptors for the first 9 years of his career, and they actually liked him a lot. And
he was the face of the franchise, no?
Not the face of the franchise, but...
No, but more or less. Like, he was the star player on the best Raptors team that they ever had up to that point.
Well, I don't know. People would argue with you and say Vince Carter.
No. But the Vince Carter teams never went anywhere. Like, they didn't win 50 games. They weren't, like, contenders, you know? Maybe 1 year they were.
But, like, let's go to Matt Duchene. He was on the Ottawa Senators for, like, 15 minutes. And they're treating him like he was like, thank you for all you did for our organization and all you did for the community. What did he do for the organization? They didn't make the playoffs once, I think, with him on the team. Unless I'm wrong, but you can.
He's only been on their team for like maybe 1 full season this year and part of last year, right?
Right, I think so.
Most of last year.
And they gave him this crazy video tribute. Anyway, it bugs me because...
No, but that's the Sens. That's the Ottawa Senators organization.
Well, no, because the Raptors did the same thing. The Raptors did the same thing
but the Raptors wouldn't
for DeRozan.
But the Raptors wouldn't do that for a player who was only there for a year and a half. The Senators would, because they're a crazy team. They're a crazy organization. They're dying to be relevant. They're dying to make a history for themselves. Like they want so badly to be on the level of the Canadians and the Leafs or even the Canucks, and they're not even in the same universe.
Do you remember when Guy Lafleur was on the Rangers and the Nordiques and he came back to play in Montreal? They didn't do a video tribute for him at the Forum.
No, but I don't know if there was a video on the scoreboard back then.
That's a fair point.
If there was, it was not very high tech. You know what I mean?
It was like the scoreboard chickens at Olympic Stadium.
Exactly, the scoreboard chickens.
Anyway, that's my rant. I'm done with that.
I like those what bugs me. It's absolutely ridiculous that the Senators gave Duchene a video tribute. It makes no sense at all.
All right, what else you got?
You want to talk about like important stuff?
That is important stuff.
College basketball.
I texted you yesterday, said I'm dying to record this episode. I have so much to talk about. And you're like, I don't have anything. I'm like, excuse me? I feel like I have more to say today than I ever had. And I feel like I was thinking about this yesterday. So I think our best episodes are not when we talk about like the minutia of like who won or this play or breaking down the plays. Like it's like when we talk about like the bigger picture. Like, you know, we did an episode like 2 years ago about like NHL players going to the Olympics, which was like maybe our best 10 minutes we've ever done. And there's 2 topics today, unrelated, that I want to delve into. And you usually like to start the show with college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And as everybody who listens knows, we're huge Duke fans. And we got our asses handed to ourselves this week by North Carolina. I don't even know what the final score was. How much did they lose by? 18, 10, 20? I don't even remember.
That was like about 15, I think.
Yeah, but by. UNC crushed Duke, which exposed a lot of the weaknesses of the Duke Blue Devils team. But, you know, no one's really talking about the win or the loss. It's more about the Zion Williamson injury and his shoe exploding.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a couple of questions for you that came out of that game. Like, and again, this is not about Duke. What we're going to talk about is more of sports in general. You said twice on the podcast the last month that you feel that, first of all, before I ask this question, I noticed that you're wearing a sweatshirt that says MIP in huge letters.
Yes.
And I asked you before we started, what does this MIP stand for? And you didn't know. So, segueing from that, you told me twice in the last month or so that you thought Trey Jones was the most important player on Duke.
Yes.
Yeah. So MIP, you're wearing the sweatshirt, most important player.
You could say that, but that's not really what it stands for.
After the loss to North Carolina, where they got killed without Zion Williamson, and Trey Jones looked like an 8-year-old that couldn't hit a shot, do you still feel like Trey Jones is the most important player on the Duke Blue Devils?
So here's my answer to that. Trey Jones isn't there for his scoring ability. He's there for his defense, and he's the best defensive player on the team. That's why I think he's the most important player on the team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So obviously, Zion Williamson, losing him is a huge blow to the team. There's no question.
Yeah.
But RJ Barrett can do some of the same things that Zion Williamson can do.
Some.
Nobody on the team can do what Trey Jones does, or they choose not to do it, because no one plays the kind of defense that he does.
It didn't help them win against North Carolina. North Carolina, this was the first game in a long time where I felt Coach K was completely outcoached.
Okay, so I will respond to that point. You go into the game, you're expecting to have Zion Williamson. That's your game plan. When you lose him 30 seconds into the game, how do you make adjustments on the fly? If Coach K had known, okay, Zion's not playing tomorrow, we're going to practice this all day today, then it would have been a different outcome. For example, Zion's not playing tonight against Syracuse.
That's correct.
Coach K has known this for at least 48 hours.
We'll see what happens.
So they've been preparing to play without Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, and I'm not saying that Duke is going to win, but the game plan is going to be different with knowing that he's not going to be there. At the North Carolina game, they didn't know that he wasn't going to be playing. Plus, you're playing against your biggest rival also.
Yeah.
And so North Carolina is like, they're so amped up for this game. You know, you can throw X's and O's out the window when you're dealing with North Carolina and Duke, or when you're dealing with like the Red Sox and the Yankees, or when you're dealing with,
Canadians, Bruins.
Yeah.
But, you texted me during the game and you were like, I can't believe we're going to lose this game because North Carolina's not even playing well.
They weren't. They didn't.
They were 2 for 20. This is North Carolina.
Yeah.
2 for 20 from 3-pointers. And they also had 15 turnovers. So you ask yourself, how is this possible? Mm-hmm. Well, the reason is that Duke was 8 for 39 from 3, and they had 20 turnovers. I just don't understand how you go 8 for 39 from 3. You keep missing, and then you just keep chucking them up.
Yeah, it was a problem. At the end, with about 4 minutes left, they started to put on a full court press, which with 4 minutes left, it's not much time. And they actually, the defense worked. North Carolina was turning over the ball, but then Duke would get the ball
and turn it back over,
chuck a 3, and they'd miss.
Yeah, or they would turn the ball over right after they stole it.
Right. So I mean, it was a disaster. It was very ugly.
I just feel that like without Zion, they just looked lost. It's like when they were on offense, they didn't know what to do. They just didn't know what to do, and the interior defense was completely exposed because you saw how many layups did North Carolina get? They
Lots.
The whole game they shot so well from the field because they were shooting layups or dunks the whole time. Guys were under the basket standing alone.
You're right. The team they didn't look good, and you know what it is. It's really a 4-man team, and then without Zion, it's a 3-man team.
Yeah.
And then you have to use either Marquise Bolden or Alex O'Connell or Javin DeLaurier or Jack White for extra minutes. And by the way, Jack White is a nice guy, but he has been useless the last month and a half.
He can't shoot at all.
I don't remember the last time he hit a 3-pointer.
He used to be able to shoot in my mind.
In the games before they started the ACC schedule, Jack White was actually playing well, like in November, December.
Yeah.
But ever since the ACC schedule started in January, Jack White's been a completely different player.
I think he has like a mental block on his shooting. There's no confidence. And O'Connell used to be also a good 3-point shooter. He looked completely useless.
Since he cut his hair, he's been useless.
Yeah. Okay, now let's get into the bigger subject. Also, about a month ago, you told Scottie Pippen to shut up because he suggested that Zion Williamson not play another game this year in college basketball.
I did say that.
And now with this injury, this topic has come up again. NBA players tweeted. There's a lot of buzz, and people are saying he shouldn't play another game. And I'm not sure I disagree with it completely. I don't know where I want him to play because he's on Duke. But like, if he would say today, I'm sitting out the rest of the year, I would respect his decision.
Okay, so you do understand that there's as much chance of Zion getting injured again as there is of RJ Barrett getting injured, Cam Reddish getting injured, or Trey Jones getting injured.
Yes.
So according to that theory, then they should all not play another game.
This is true.
Okay, and every single college basketball player who knows they're getting drafted should stop playing today.
Maybe that's where we're going.
Okay, so then what? So then just cancel the whole college basketball season.
I don't know. Well, look, the NBA came out this week and said they're considering lowering the draft age to 18, meaning like the one and dones are not going to be anymore because a lot of guys are going to go straight into the NBA like they used to be able to, a la Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett. There was a lot of LeBron James, right? There's a lot of guys that didn't go to college, which could make the college game better. It could, right? Because the one and dones, you know how I feel. It's not that it's ruining the game. The games are good, but the quality of play is not good because the players are too young. They're not experienced, and you don't have, as a fan, like we always say, this show is by the fans for the fans. How does sports affect us, right? Well, how does this affect me? Is that like I don't have the same passion for my college team that I follow, Duke, as I normally would, because every guy that I like leaves after 1 year. You don't develop a sense of like a team. You know how it is. Mm-hmm. Even playing beer league sports like we used to do. You have a team. You do really well, and then you're like, next year is going to be our year. You bring back the same core of guys, and then you get better. And then the next year you bring back the same core of guys. You add a piece here, you add a piece there, and then the next thing you know, you're good, right? And then maybe you're contending, and you don't have that team building, and the you just don't have that same experience. It kind of sucks. I don't know. I
agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you, but then I don't know what the solution is. I mean, forget about the NBA rule. The NBA can change the rule and say you can come straight into the NBA.
Guys can still be one and done, though. Guys can still be one and done even with that rule.
Right, exactly. Because what if they decide they want to go to college, and then after a year they change their mind and they want to go to the pros?
Yeah.
So they could still be one and done. I mean, you remember back in the day, Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, Bobby Hurley, they all played 4 years.
Well, everybody did. Everybody played 4 years or 3.
So
I remember the first guy on Duke that didn't play 4 years and everyone was so mad at him was Elton Brand. And we're like, oh my God, he's going in the draft, like, because Duke had this aura about it that it graduated their players. And
I think it might have been, I think the first guy might have been Corey Maggette.
He was the same year as Elton Brand. They went in the draft the same time, but Elton was a big star and Maggette was a first year,
So I don't know what the solution is, but I mean, so you're everyone's telling these college players not to play, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, you can be in the NBA and get injured also.
No, I know. And there's a player in the news in the NFL. He was in the news all of this season, and just bear with me while I try to take you from A to B like a roundabout way. So Le'Veon Bell sat out this whole year, right? And his whole argument, or not his whole argument, but part of his argument was, I don't want to get injured. Like, I don't want to get injured while they're paying me bupkis. I want to make sure I have all my money in the bank before I get injured, basically. And they give me the ball. I don't want to be, if I'm getting the ball 40 times or 50 times a game, because he's a receiver and a pass catcher and a runner, you know, if I'm getting the ball 40, 50 times a game, I want to be paid accordingly, right? So he's basically saying, like, once you pay me, then I'll start trying, you know? Mm-hmm. So, like, where does it end? Like, where does it end? Like, are the players... Like, what it comes down to, like, what are you playing for? Is Zion Williams playing for money? Is that the whole goal? Just to get paid? And then that's it? Because then you should just get paid and then don't even try. Like, just like Jalen Rose says, you just getting your paychecks, you know? You can just run around the court and do whatever you want and don't care about winning and just get your paychecks, right? If you're playing for paychecks. Is that what you're playing for? Or are you playing to win? Or are you a competitor? Right? Is that factored into the equation? Or like what's your? I think it's part of like what's inside the athlete. Like what makes you tick? You know.
This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello, you play to win the game.
There are some player agents in baseball who are telling their players who are pitchers. Yeah. To not throw as many innings a year as they normally do. Right. Because the agent's theory is, the more innings you throw, the shorter your career is going to be. And like, why would you go ahead and pitch a complete game or pitch on short rest, you know, just to help your team because it's not going to help your career.
Right. But then like, isn't the goal to help your team? Like that's the whole thing.
It used to be. I don't think it is anymore.
I feel like we're on a tipping point in like all the sports where it's like the players are the money is now become so big that it's actually more important than winning the games.
100%.
Or maybe not. I don't know. But like we're looking at this from the fans' point of view. If you were 18 years old, 19 years old, and you were Zion Williamson, like what would you do? I don't know. What I would do.
If you're 18 or 19, you just want to play basketball. That's all you care about.
You do, but you know. If you blow out your knee and then you have no career, now you've made zero. Although I heard he does have an insurance policy.
Okay.
He'll get paid $8 million if he falls later than 16th pick in the draft due to an injury.
Who would give him that kind of insurance?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, I mean, insurance companies, they're not in the business of losing money. You understand?
No, I know that.
Like they have that's why there's actuaries. They figure this stuff out. They know like if is it a good deal or not. But I don't know. It's like
But no, it's definitely the goal is the money more than winning. There's no question. Even, you know, for the players, it's definitely just making the money, whatever sport it is. Mm-hmm. But if you even talk to team owners, you know, there's only one team that's going to win the World Series or the Stanley Cup or the Super Bowl. There's only one team. Yeah. The other 29 teams or whatever it is, a lot of those owners are thrilled if they don't win the championship, but they had a profitable year, money-wise.
Right. Well, I don't know. It's just like you know, the college basketball, I heard this week, people are saying, well, you know, Zion Williamson, he's not getting paid. He's not getting paid as a college athlete. That's not fair. Why should he risk his career if he's not getting paid? Think about it. If college athletes got paid, how much would they get? How much would they get paid? $1,000 a week? $2,000? $100,000? Make up any number. Make up any number. It doesn't even matter. Because the minute he goes in the NBA, he's making millions and double-digit millions, right? Whatever they're paying him, it's not enough, you know?
I know, but what they should allow the college players to do is profit from their own likeness. Like when someone buys a Zion Williamson jersey, Williamson gets nothing.
For sure. He
should be able to get money from that. You know, or if he goes to a mall and does an autograph session, he should be able to get money from that.
Yeah, that whole players not making money was exposed this week, you know, with the Duke North Carolina game because, you know, tickets were going on sale for thousands of dollars, right? Mm-hmm. ESPN made millions on advertising on the game. There was hype like crazy. Obama was at the game. You know?
And
everybody's
Reggie Love.
with Reggie Love, former Dookie. Everybody's making money. Everybody's making money. Except for the guys on the court, you know, who are actually risking not being able to make money by maybe getting injured. It's a sucky thing.
By the same token, and this doesn't apply to Zion Williamson because everyone knows who he is. By the same token, a lot of these college players are getting exposure by playing in the NCAA, and therefore a lot of them are improving their draft ranking. So,
well, like for instance,
so college basketball does serve a purpose for them.
Well, like Zion is the right example. Going into the season, I think Zion was projected as a top 10.
I think he was projected as a top 3.
Well, that was once the season started. But if you go back to when he was recruited, you know, no, they didn't know. They're like, oh, he's just a dunker or whatever. But like as the season's gone, he's number 1, right?
Yes,
like,
now he is.
He's consensus number 1, right? So,
by the way, something you didn't even mention.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many things about this that I hadn't running through my head. I should have written it down, but like I don't want to like read a teleprompter when we're recording.
No, of course, but you know, Nike Nike cannot be too happy today or the day after this happened or the night that it happened because they look really, really bad that this happened to their shoe.
I read that their stock went down. I mean, their stock is worth so much that it went down like whatever percent that actually cost the company like $1 billion. Like
it went down in the morning, but then it went back up in the afternoon. So, I mean, I don't know that was a huge
every
issue.
year there's always one shoe that kind of explodes on someone.
You see, you're the second person I heard to say that this week. I've never seen a shoe explode in my life. When have you ever seen that?
Because it's just if you watch like a highlight, they're like, oh look, his shoe exploded. I know Manu Ginobili. I can't remember.
I've
like,
seen shoes come off because they're not tied properly. I've never seen a shoe explode like that.
Well, not like this though. Like Zion's was pretty extreme, right?
So I've never seen this before.
No, because it's not happening during a game that you're watching. You have to kind of watch a highlight or a blooper and say, oh, look, his shoe, you know? But like here you're watching the game 30 seconds in. Next thing you know, like, look what happened, you know?
Major League Baseball.
If you're Manny Machado, you're counting your dollars.
This is another thing that bugs me. No player in any sport, in any league, should have a 10-year contract. Even 9 or 8 or 7 years is too long. It's, you know, he might have 5 good years left in him.
Yeah.
And in 5 years from now, if not sooner, the Padres are going to be dying to get rid of this guy.
Over under 4 years. When will the Padres trade Manny Machado?
Oh, they won't trade him because they won't be able to trade him.
No, they will be. They will be.
No, they won't. Who's gonna want to take that contract?
Just like Texas traded A-Rod.
I think A-Rod was younger though.
They're around the same.
I don't think they're going to be able to trade him. Like you can't even trade Carey Price, and he's not making anywhere near the money that Machado's making.
Well, it's apples and oranges. But yes, I understand where you're going with that. I just feel like I agree with you. San Diego, they're like, yeah, we got this guy. We're going to try to become relevant. And
look,
you know,
look. If the Padres
in 3 or 4 years, they're going to be dying to get rid of the contract because they're not going to be able to pay it. It's the same thing like the Marlins. The Marlins signed Giancarlo Stanton, and then they traded him because they realized, oh, we can't. You know, we're trying to make a splash, and then we can't pay him. You know.
Look, if the Padres win the World Series in the next, 2, 3, 4 years, then it's worth it because that's all they want. They want to win a World Series.
Do you feel that they're contenders? I mean, everyone says they have the greatest farm system, but the farm system doesn't win a World Series this year or
they're
next
not
year
contenders
or the year
this year.
after.
They're not contenders this year. That's for sure. But if they've been doing like what the Astros did and what the Cubs did, and let's say in 2 years from now or 3 years from now, they are contenders and Machado's still on the team, then they might win the World Series 3 years from now. And if they win one World Series in the duration of this 10-year contract, then it's worth it for them.
Right. Okay.
And they'll have to deal with the last 5 years of his career where the team is awful and he's not good, and whatever, you have to pay for that.
Padres are in a weird situation. They're the only team in their city now, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no more Chargers, so they want to be the talk of the town, and they're trying to make a splash. And the Padres, when you think about it, I thought about like the history of the San Diego Padres, right? They've been in the World Series twice, right? They lost in '84 to the Tigers, and then they lost in '98, 6, 7 to the Yankees. When they had Ken Caminiti, remember?
I actually don't remember. I know that you're right because I read it somewhere, but I don't remember them being in the World Series other than 1984. I don't remember.
They got swept by the Yankees. That's how come you don't remember, you know? Like it was just an inconsequential World Series. But like of all the franchises in the league, like who's the biggest star ever to play for the San Diego Padres? What player do you identify with the Padres?
Steve Garvey?
Steve Garvey. That's your answer.
I don't know.
It's not Tony Gwynn.
Oh, right. I forgot about him.
Okay, there you go. You forgot about him. So Tony Gwynn is like the face of the franchise, basically, you know? And then your next answer was Steve Garvey, which is perfect, right? The guy who played like 3 years on the team. Garvey's to me is a Dodger, right? He's not a Padre.
Of course.
Like he had one really good playoff, right? Now I'm gonna ask you a question. All this is lining up to say like the Padres have never ever had a star. Other than Tony Gwynn, they've never had a star. And when you look at the Expos, they came into the league the same year as the Padres. They've got 4 guys in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Padres have Gwynn, and the list ends there. I mean, maybe they want to count Dave Winfield, but Winfield to me is a Yankee, you know? Like,
but Gwynn's in the Hall of Fame.
Gwynn, they have one. They have Gwynn.
Yeah.
But I mean, like they haven't ever really had stars. Like I'm gonna ask you a question now, and you're never gonna know the answer. Never ever in life are you gonna know the answer. Who's the franchise leader in home runs for the San Diego Padres?
So it's not Tony Gwynn?
No, it's not even close. Gwynn is actually 5th on the list, on their list. But like Gwynn was not. What was the most home runs Gwynn ever hit in a season? 15?
He never hit 20?
Maybe 18. I don't know. We could look it up. But suffice to say, you know he was not a home run hitter, right? Yeah.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah. So the answer is Nate Colbert.
Who's that?
So exactly. This is a guy who was on their team in the 70s, you know, when they were an expansion franchise, right? So like they as an organization, they never had a star, and now they have one in Machado. So all the pressure's on him, right? I mean, unless he doesn't care about the pressure, maybe he went there for the same reason that Hosmer went to San Diego last year. Let's just play in San Diego and go surf at the beach, and who cares if we win? And like we were just saying before, maybe it is all about the money, and they don't care if they win any ball games, right?
Well, I've said for many years that if I could live in any city in the world, it would be San Diego.
It's spectacular.
I would love to live there.
It really is spectacular. As you know, I was there in December.
Okay.
And I was like, and it's the second time I've been there, and both times I had the same reaction when I get out of the airport, coming from cold Montreal and then landing in San Diego, and you're like, what the hell is this place? How come everybody in the world doesn't live here? Like, why would you not, if you had the choice to live anywhere you want, which we do.
Well, that's my choice. I choose San Diego.
Yeah, I could theoretically pick up and move my family anywhere, right?
Well,
I don't know why I don't
not
live
really.
there.
It's not that simple.
No, but I mean, where there's a will, there's a way, you know? Like, I mean.
And it's beautiful 365 days a year.
72 and sunny every day. So is Machado only going for the money, or does he actually want to win?
Oh, no, it's 100% the money.
100%, right?
Whichever team offered him the most money, that's where he was going to go.
Yeah, I agree. And now what's going to happen with Bryce Harper? I know we talk about this every week, and he's still not signed, and now another week's gone by.
Well, the Padres might sign Harper too.
You think so?
That's what I've been hearing.
It's just ridiculous. I just don't understand how they're not signed till now.
Well, it was this week, a year ago, this week, where JD Martinez signed.
Yeah, I know.
Last year.
But like, I just don't get it. I just don't, like, what did the offers change between 2 months ago and now? You know?
I don't know. Harper says, or his agent says, that they've turned down a lot of amazing offers in the last few months. I don't know if I believe any of it.
No, well, I mean, it's funny that there's no leaks, right? Like, a lot of times you hear stories, this guy's going to sign here. No one really seems to know anything.
Well, the Phillies seem to be the front runners for Harper.
I guess. I mean, but then why haven't they signed him till now? What is Harper deciding on? An extra $1 million? An extra $2 million?
Boris wants the contract that he signs to be the richest contract of all time.
So then it has to be more than Machado's.
Right. Could be more by $1.
Yeah, by $1.
As long as it's
so
more.
It's so ridiculous.
It
Honestly, it's so ridiculous. So did you hear, like, what's his name? The head of the MLB Players Association? Tony Clark. He came out and said this week that the last 2 years has been an attack on free agency. It's his exact words, an attack on free agency. The day that the week that a guy signs for $300 million by one of the lowest revenue teams in the league, right? A team that never spends money all of a sudden decides we're going to spend $300 million. Yet somehow there's an attack on free agency.
So he said this the day before Machado signed.
Yeah.
And then when Machado signed, he looked like an idiot.
Yeah. And he's going to look like an idiot when Harper signs.
Right. So, by the way, all those players who were saying that free agency is broken, it's not broken. And by the way, all those people who were saying that there's collusion in baseball, there's no collusion in baseball. We can turn the page now.
There's no collusion. Teams are just deciding because they're actually getting smart, owners and general managers. And they're like, no, I don't need to sign Manny Machado for $300 million because I can just wait and call up my third baseman from AAA and pay him $700,000, and maybe and we're still going to get value there, and we'll use our money somewhere else, right?
It's absolutely right.
I mean, it's Moneyball to the extreme, right?
Because there's no player that's worth the money that Machado's getting or the money that Harper's getting. Because think about it, with all these analytics now, what you do is, and you saw the movie Moneyball, and you read the book Moneyball. I can spend all this money on this player if I want, but how many extra wins is it going to give me? And if it's only giving me, 3 extra wins or 5 extra wins, it's not worth me spending $300 million.
Exactly. That's exactly, anybody who wants to understand what Moneyball is, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
So, yeah, if I was an owner, I wouldn't sign him.
Yeah.
I would have signed him for 5 years for, I don't know, $100 million. He wouldn't have accepted it, but that's what I would have done.
Right. So there you go. There you go. Because most owners are probably looking at it the same way you are. Then the offers are just not coming. But then again, it always just takes one owner who's who's stupid, who's going to say, yeah, I'm going to pay him.
Now, in the case of the Padres, they happened before they did this signing. They happened to have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball.
Yeah. Well, right now, Hosmer and Machado are taking up I think more than half their payroll. Right.
So they were one of a very few teams that had the liberty of spending all this money, and they're still not over the cap.
Well, not the cap, but the luxury tax.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now they're still spending less than the Yankees and less than the Dodgers and less than the Red Sox, and they have a decent team. I don't think they're going to win the World Series, but they have a decent team.
We'll see. We'll see if they have a decent team or not. I don't know. But then, so you have Tony Clark coming out and saying there's an attack on free agency. And then I forget the player, but I read a couple of quotes this week of players saying, we're going to strike this year.
Go ahead.
They're already talking about a strike. The CBA is not even up for 2 more years, 3 more years? You can't strike.
No, they can't strike this year. Actually, they can do whatever they want. But
yeah.
Let me tell you something. There's no correlation between the amount of money you spend and the number of wins you have. Both Tampa and Oakland won more than 90 games last year, and they have two of the lowest payrolls in baseball, those two teams.
Yeah, but also, you have the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Red Sox who have the highest payrolls, who are all in the playoffs.
Okay, but
I mean, look,
you have the Angels.
A scientific study.
The Angels have a huge payroll. They didn't make the playoffs.
I know. You can definitely win without spending $300 million on Manny Machado. You can definitely do that. That's been proven over and over and over. Smart general managers, smart organizations, they know how to do this. It's very hard to sustain. You have to plan it very carefully. You have to get all your players getting good at the same time, like the Astros are right now, right? What's going to happen to the Astros?
They're still good.
Don't you think, when is Alex Bregman going to ask for $300 million?
Well,
I think he's better than Manny Machado.
When is he a free agent?
I don't know. It's in a few years. But
if they all become free agents at the same time, then they're going to have to dismantle the team. In fact, Marwin Gonzalez already left the team.
Yeah, and he signed with who?
Minnesota,
Ooh,
yeah.
Yeah,
And
like he's going to be in contention there.
He's not exactly one of the integral pieces on their team. He's a nice player to have. He's a platoon player, but he's not, what part of the core of the team.
No, I get it. But, I mean, could he have taken less money and stayed on the Astros? I don't know how much less. But, like, do you think he's going to sniff the postseason with Minnesota?
They were decent last year. They weren't great.
Yeah, I know, but come on,
That division's also weak. The division that the Twins are in.
I guess.
No, he's certainly. No player cares about winning. They only care about money.
But really, no player? You don't think any player cares about winning?
No, I really don't. I think every player cares about money. I'm telling you. And I've said this since, when I first said this? You remember Jason Bay, the Canadian guy who was on the Pirates?
Yes, I do. He was on the Pirates and then he went to the Red Sox.
Right. And I forget which was his last team that he played on.
He signed a huge contract with the Red Sox and he was a bust.
Yes, but then there was another contract after that.
Yes, I don't remember.
And the team that he went to was a bad team.
Yeah.
But he had this huge offer and he took it. And so I said, I don't know if it was to you, I said to somebody right that day, I said, well, clearly this guy does not care about winning because he could have played for any team that he wanted to, but he chose to play for this lousy team because they offered him the most money.
But if someone came up to you and said, here's $10 million, play with us for one season, and everybody else is offering you $2 million.
If the difference is 2 and 10, okay. But if the difference is 10 and 5.
Yeah. A lot of times it's the differences between 10 and 9.
Right, exactly. Also, like if I'm a rookie and it's my first big contract, that's one thing. Or maybe not a rookie, but if I'm a young player. But if I've been in the league, for 10 years and I've accumulated all this money.
That's what always gets me. Yeah, that's what always gets me because these guys already have $100 million in the bank.
Well, if they've saved it properly, a lot of them spend all their money.
They have $50 million in the bank. They have 100, whatever it is, and then yet they're like, I need $1 million more on my next contract.
Yeah.
Like I can go and play for a last place team for $1 million more, or I can go play for the Red Sox for $1 million less, right. and they choose the other.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you also hear the comments from Clayton Kershaw this week? This is more about rules. He says, I'm not going to, about the pitch clock. He's like, I'm going to ignore the pitch clock.
Okay, well then I hope the umpire calls balls all day long as he's pitching and he walks every batter because if that's the rule, you're going to have to abide by it.
That's what I don't get. If that's the rule, that's the rule. That's like in the NBA. In the NBA next year, let's say they make the 3-point line 6 inches further, right? And then Steph Curry's like, no. All my shots from the old 3-point line still count for 3 now.
Good luck,
I don't care what the rule says.
Yeah.
I don't care what the rule says.
Yeah. Because these athletes, once they start getting paid these millions and millions of dollars, they lose, if they ever had any, they lose sight of reality. Yeah. So they're living in a dream world where they think, they've always been catered to ever since they were like 15 years old, if not younger.
Clayton Kershaw's has had everything handed to him since he was 12.
Right. So you can tell them, you're not getting this anymore, or this is changing now. And they're all like, what do you mean? No. Yeah. It's been like this my whole life. This is how it's always going to be.
Unreal. I know. When I saw his comments, I'm like, what do you mean? They're going to make a new rule. You're just going to ignore it? You're going to say, screw that. I'm not doing that?
What I don't understand is, so now I saw a story yesterday where I think they used the pitch clock in a game in spring training yesterday.
They did. Yes.
And they're saying that, they might actually implement it in the regular season this year.
Yeah.
So, but you have to explain to me, I was at games last year. I saw a clock last year. What was that clock?
I don't know. I researched this and I can't figure it out because I was at a game 2 years ago, or maybe even I remember being at a game, and Mark from Philadelphia is probably listening to this podcast, although he's probably listened to it a week late because he told me he's behind on our shows. That I remember being at a game and there was a clock and it was counting down. And I don't know what it was for. I don't know if anyone was looking at it, but it was there, So I'm as baffled as you because I don't know what that other clock was, unless it was more of a guideline. This is what we want you to do. Let's try it. But now are they really going to enforce it? They're going to have to. Now, speaking of Mark from Philadelphia, because we're talking about the length of games. Mm-hmm. he sent me, because they're talking about like seems to be when they talk about the length of the game, everything revolves around how the pitcher can pitch the ball sooner, right? Batters stepping out, pitchers pitching more quickly. That seems to be the thrust of like all the rule changes. Now, Mark sent me an article, and it's interesting because he sent it to me, and I was like, I just read this today. I found it myself already. It's from the website that I like, which I know you don't read, I don't think, called 538.com.
I don't.
So 538 is it's all about numbers. They take statistics and numbers and they apply it to whatever the topic is. And they have a podcast section, they have a sports section, whatever. So did you know that last year there was 14,000 more foul balls than there were 20 seasons ago?
That's a lot.
That is a lot, right?
That's a lot.
14,000 more foul balls.
Or as your wife likes to call them, clouds.
Yes, there's 14,000 more clouds than 20 years ago. You don't think that has an impact on the length of the game?
100%.
Of course it does, but they don't even look at this stuff. They don't even try to think about.
But you can't control that.
Well, if they're thinking about really, really making extreme rules, what about like softball rules? 3 foul balls and it's a strikeout, like we used to play in our day, right?
I was just going to say that.
That speeds up the game.
That was one of the worst rules of all time in that softball league that we played in.
But when you say that it was one of the worst rules, but honestly, how many times in a season that when you played did you see a guy strike out on 3 foul balls? It happened like once or twice, so obviously the rule didn't really matter.
I think it happened like once a game.
I don't know about that.
There's a certain player that was on our team whose name I won't mention who seemed to do it at least once a game.
All right, that's all I have to say about baseball. I mean, I can go on and on about the rule changes and the free agency and the money. It's like I feel like we're the two old men in the Muppets, that are the critics.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!
No. I felt like that. Like I felt like I've been those old guys on the Muppets for like 10 years. I love those old guys on the Muppets. They're my favorite.
Because they speak reality, right?
Yes.
They tell it like it is, which
yes.
is what we're trying to do. So, I mean, Machado signed shortly after we recorded last week. So let's see if Harper will sign shortly after we record this week. And what about Craig Kimbrell? No one's talking about Craig Kimbrell. This is like one of the most dominant closers in the league. He's also not signed.
I think Machado finally signed because he subscribed to our podcast, started listening to it, and heard what we said, and then decided, I better sign my contract because I don't want Skip and Josh to say bad things about me.
That's possible.
As for Craig Kimbrell, he's just a reliever. I know he's a closer, but like he's not worth
Well, we
anything.
don't know what he's asking, but we don't know what he's asking, but money aside, shouldn't he be on a team?
He should be on a team, but like
right?
These guys who pitch 1 inning a game.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Give me a break.
What you're asking for $10 million a year to pitch 1 inning a game, and you don't even pitch 3 days in a row. You pitch 2 days in a row, and then you need a day off.
Yeah, and he was like the Red Sox won last year just in spite of him. He was really shaky in the playoffs.
Well, he did end up with 6 saves in the postseason.
I know, but like they were all like these saves where he's like getting the bases loaded and getting out of his own jam. And
I mean, honestly, the Red Sox team, I think I could have been their closer and they still would have won the World Series.
Of course. And yeah, exactly. I mean, he got those saves in spite of himself.
Now,
right?
The pitcher that should have been signed by now that hasn't is Dallas Keuchel, who you can't pronounce his name.
Keuchel.
Right. He's more valuable than Kimbrell, in my opinion, even though he didn't have such a good season last year.
And he's still a good pitcher.
Exactly.
If like you said, if Harvey, ex-Met, can
Matt
sign,
Harvey,
then
Dark Knight of Gotham.
Then Keuchel should be on a team, right?
Right, exactly.
Again, we don't know what their salary demands are, and then maybe they're gonna lower them, or maybe Keuchel's just gonna go off in the sunset. We don't know anything about the guy. Maybe he's just gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna retire. I have plenty of money. I don't need to play.
He's too young to retire.
He is much too young, but like you said, he probably has $50 million in the bank already.
Right. So then, I mean, you're gonna accept some sort of contract so you can at least still play the game. Because if you don't, then you're going to be playing in some beer league in Idaho, and who wants to do that?
No, not Idaho.
No.
We just insulted all our Idaho listeners.
All of them. We're huge in Idaho.
We are. I heard.
We
I heard
were
that.
until now.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Otherwise, I'm ready to close this show. Did you want to talk about the NHL trading deadline?
I have one other thing to talk about.
Okay.
And
good.
it's not the NHL trade deadline.
Okay. The trade deadline, maybe we'll talk about it next week after all the trades are done. But there's
I don't-
not much to say anyways, honestly.
I don't even care. I used to care. I don't know why I don't care anymore.
The National Football League.
So obviously you heard about what happened with Robert Kraft yesterday.
Yes. Yes, I did.
So
Some great jokes going on Twitter and Facebook. It's
I mean,
great
the
stuff.
only thing that bothers me is I wish it had happened to Bill Belichick instead of Robert Kraft. But that said, I'm not even going to talk about what happened, but
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about what I heard on the sportscasts afterwards.
Okay.
They're comparing this
Yeah.
to like what Jim Irsay did when he was found, when he was stopped for drunk driving, and
Similar,
he
though.
had to pay a fine to the NFL, and he was suspended for 6 games. So this is my point. So they're talking about how many games is Robert Kraft going to be suspended by the NFL?
Because apparently, like the NFL has like a code of conduct for players. Apparently, the owners have a code of conduct that's far more strict.
Right, and there should be a code of conduct. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, there's only 30 teams. If you're one of the guys in the club, they want you to be, a certain
Right.
way.
But my point is this. Who cares if you suspend Robert
owner.
Kraft or any owner for 6 games or 8 games or 12 games? What does the owner do? The owner doesn't call any plays. The owner doesn't
Be
do any...
suspended for life.
The owner doesn't devise any strategy for the game.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
owner doesn't throw a ball or catch a ball. He doesn't do anything. So suspend him for as many games as you want. He's still the owner of the team. And if the team is making money while he's suspended, he still makes that money. So
I
who
don't know.
cares?
Right, because they're talking about like he could get a $500,000 fine. Now, as rich as Robert Kraft is, $500,000 is still a significant amount of money for anybody. So that's great, $500,000 fine. But a suspension? What does that mean? He doesn't get to sit in his private box?
So you can watch the game on TV from home.
He can't come to the practices? He's going to watch the games on TV on his 200-foot screen in his mansion.
Exactly. In
What does
fact,
he
it
care?
might be even better because if it's, bad weather, you get to stay in your basement.
And at this point, he's with all the media attention around him and all the negative media attention, deservedly, if he's guilty of what they say he is, like he's not going to want to go to the games. He's going to want to hide. He's going to want to go away and hide somewhere and lock himself in his compound,
Anyway, that's all I want to say.
Robert Kraft. I heard about it yesterday. I was like, of all the people, it's just like the weirdest story ever,
It is kind of weird.
Yeah, an NFL owner goes into a massage parlor. It's like a joke. It's like, what's the punchline? I mean, you insert your joke here. Well, I mean, deflated balls. I mean, it's the obvious one, no? Isn't it like the obvious one?
That's the first time I heard that. That's funny.
It's you say you're on Twitter and Instagram, but you're not.
Well, I am. I'm not just saying it. I actually am. Instagram is the biggest waste of time.
It is.
Twitter is actually useful, by the way.
Twitter of all the platforms is the most useful. Yes.
Twitter and LinkedIn. So Twitter, about a month ago, I was about to take a train and the weather was bad, and I tweeted at Via Rail and I asked them if my train was going to be on time, and they responded within seconds and said, yes, your train is on time. So
Right.
Twitter is actually useful.
All these big companies actually have people dedicated to monitoring the social media accounts, right? Because people are complaining and stuff. At one point, Air Canada lost my bags, and I wasn't getting anywhere with the customer service people that I was talking to on the phone. I tweeted to them. Within minutes, someone direct messaged me back saying, "Please contact us again," and so there is
So
there's
Twitter's-
power there.
Yeah,
there's
Twitter's
power
actually
there.
useful, and LinkedIn's pretty good too.
Before we sign off, remember, you can listen and subscribe to new and archived episodes of the Skip and Josh podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and of course, Spotify. If you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. We would love to hear from you via email, skipandjoshshow@gmail.com, via Twitter @skipandjosh, or by liking and following our Facebook page. As always, you can get all the links to everything I just talked about on our website, skipandjosh.com.
We leave you with this.
Do you have anything to leave the audience in our We Leave You With This segment?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, in case you haven't been scouring the ticker on your favorite sports channel,
Yeah.
the Chicago Bears released kicker Cody Parkey.
big surprise there, right?
Well, it is, because why did they wait till now?
They should have. Yeah, you're right. Why did they? Well, no, I think there's certain there's certain deadlines. There's certain deadlines in the NFL that go with the contracts, and there's probably a financial reason to why he was released now. But yes, there's everybody knew he was not coming back. That's impossible. So we talked last week about the AAF.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they couldn't make their payroll after week 1, which I don't get.
That's a rumor. I don't know if it's accurate.
Yeah, well, they say that it was a glitch in their payroll system.
Okay.
But, I mean, I hope it was, because if you can't meet payroll after week 1, I mean, you knew you were going to have to pay these guys, right? It's not a surprise.
You heard about the Carolina Hurricanes owner who invested, $250 million?
Yeah, he basically owns the league now, I think.
I mean, I don't know why someone would spend that kind of money on anything.
The fact that they almost couldn't make the payroll, and after 1 week they needed an investor of $250 million to more or less save the league, doesn't. I'm not exactly investing my life savings in the AAF shares. Let's just say.
Neither am I. But I'm still surprised, actually, because it is football and it is the United States. And I don't expect there to be 5 million people watching every single game or whatever number they had in week 1.
But there should be some type
I'm
of audience.
surprised that nobody cares about it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't on regular CBS this past weekend, so I couldn't watch it. But if I'm home doing nothing and there happens to be a football game on Saturday night, I'll tune in for a few minutes and see what's going on.
Yeah, I guess. You're right. Maybe they're not as crazy about the football as you think. Maybe it's just the NFL. The other leagues don't stand a chance. Sort of like how junior hockey never worked in Montreal because they just can't compete with the Canadians.
I guess.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll tell you all next week. Next week, I'll tell you all about the Oscars.
Okay, I won't.
Okay. All right. Good show, Josh.
Talk to you next week.
Okay, bye.